Welcome to this ET Now special. I'm Nayanthara Rai, today coming to you from Facebook's headquarters in Gurgaon. I've got the top boss of Facebook India with me, Ajit Mohan. Welcome to Startup Central.
Good to be here.
So what made you like Unacademy? It's your second investment by Facebook in an Indian startup.
It is, Nayanthara, and I think a lot of the reasons why we started the investment program and when we made the first announcement in Meesho, we spoke about the framework that we're looking in terms of how we are investing in startups, and Unacademy fell into the heart of a lot of the things that we're looking for. They're pioneering a very disruptive model in a space that is quite critical for India in education. And we were quite excited that 70% of their 18 million or so learners come from tier 2 and tier 3 cities.
Yeah.
And this has been the consistent pattern. With the first investment in Meesho, again, this was a model that was relevant beyond the large cities. Meesho was bringing in female entrepreneurs online for the first time. And this is sort of the connect that we see in our investment program, where the Uber theme is, can we really be an ally for companies that are truly disrupting models in spaces that are quite consequential for India? And Unacademy, fell smack into the heart of it. And we're excited by Gaurav and the team as well. I think that's the other thing we look for. Founders who clearly we can see are going to have massive impact in the spaces they're working on and in the country as a whole.
So, I in fact had a co-founder of Unacademy, Gaurav Munjal, in the ET Now studio. We joked about that he's sitting for the ET Now exam. And I asked him that when Facebook invested in Meesho, the synergies were so obvious because, Meesho is based on social commerce. It does use platforms like Facebook and WhatsApp. Unacademy is in the business of preparing people for competitive exams. What are the synergies with Facebook? And then I'm going to play for my viewers what he had to say, so it'll be fun to see if it matches up.
We'll see if it matches. I think I'll tell you from Facebook's point of view, I don't think we're looking at these investments from an excessively self-interested point of view.
Okay.
So I know when we announced the investment in Meesho, the conjecture was, hey, this is about Facebook entering commerce in India. And I remember clarifying that was not the point.
Yeah.
The fact that it was social commerce, that Meesho leverages WhatsApp a lot, we were aware of it, but our excitement came from the fact that Vidit and the Meesho team were pioneering a model that was truly innovative. It had such a huge consequential impact on female entrepreneurship, and it was a model that was relevant across the country. And it's the same lens that we are bringing here as well. We're not looking at it from one was social commerce, the other was education. I think we're looking at it from the fact that Unacademy is pioneering the model of learning. And one of the big innovations on the Unacademy front is on the idea of live classes.
Yes.
And I think it's particularly relevant in India.
I think that's what separates it maybe from, let's say, a Baiju, because, Baiju is a franchise, not live model, because it's the same conversation I was having with Gaurav.
Yeah, and for me, rather than going to a comparative, I think the fact that it's innovation of that scale is exciting. And no surprise, I think any model that has an impact on skilling and learning in India, we believe is truly consequential and impactful for India. So the lens that we're applying is not how is this model connected to our family of apps, or how is it connected to spaces that we are interested in. I think the lens is really, can we fuel a team and a business model that can be hugely impactful for India? Because the starting point for us is we are excited about India. We are excited about everything that's happening here in the startup ecosystem, as well as what we see across our family of apps in Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. And then the lens really is, how can we be an ally for India's economic and social transformation? And the investment
and still
program,
make money from it, because you're not a charity and you're not you are a for-profit organization.
And yes, but the lens, and maybe this is where we're quite different from some of the other classic VC and PE firms, all of them we work with and we partner with them. But I think the two big ways in which we differ, we don't start with investment themes around specific sectors. So the investment in Meesho didn't start with we want to be in commerce. The investment in Unacademy didn't start with we want to be in education. And third, well, hopefully, we want to see these companies succeed dramatically because the excitement comes from the possibility of massive impact. And if that happens, the investment from a financial point of view hopefully will be attractive. We're not looking at it from a what is the multiplier we can get here.
Oh, you're not doing that.
That's not the lens. I think, I made this. I
know you said this in June of 2019 when you made the Meesho investment.
I think the synergies between Facebook and Unacademy are even more obvious. I'll tell you why. Both of us are platforms. Both of us have a huge focus on videos. Facebook is the startup is actually now an organization that has seen immense scale, and I think we can learn from it on how did they use their algorithms to show the right content to right people. In our case, it's educational content, but we are still a platform where thousands of teachers are teaching and taking live classes and creating content, and Facebook is a pioneer in that. So I think there are a lot of synergies possible. I think we have planned trips where we'll be meeting some of their senior people to learn more on a lot of things that we want to know about and so on. So I think there are a lot of synergies possible because both of us are content platforms and we are focused on education, and that is something that they have done at huge scale. In fact, a lot of students use WhatsApp and Facebook groups for their study. And we have seen that consistently across all examinations. Studying through WhatsApp and Facebook groups is huge.
But Ajit, I've got to ask you this. It's taken 7 months since Meesho for Facebook to make its second investment. Is Facebook India actively looking at investments in startups, or this one just fall into your lap? Because normally, people who want to make investments in startups don't wait for 7 months to take such a long gap.
Yeah, I think it's a great question. And the direct answer to you is yes, absolutely. We're actively looking to make investments in startups. But I would frame it a bit differently in terms of how the normal,
time frame.
Or how investors may look at. And I think we're different on multiple fronts, some of which we talked about. I don't think we're just looking at what is the multiplier here. One, it's not that we have a corpus that needs to be deployed over a defined time period. But equally, that also means there is no cap in terms of either the size of the investment or the number of investments we can make. Second, truly, the lens is not overly self-interested about how does it connect to the work we do on the family of apps every day. Do they use our platforms? That is not the lens. I think the lens is, are these models where they're so disruptive and can have such a massive impact on India, and the founders are looking for us to play a role in it? So I think you're right. It's taken 6 or 7 months between the two investments. But for us, we will keep applying this lens. And where we see opportunities, we'll continue to make these investments. The other thing to call out is Facebook does not do minority investments, not just in India, but anywhere in the world. So the fact that we have created this program where we are willing to do minority investments only for India, I think shows the excitement about India and the fact that we are using a different framework than anywhere else in the world.
Is this only in India that you're doing minority investments?
It is only in India.
On this planet, India is the only country where Facebook is making minority investments. That's right. At the moment, that is the case, where the lens is, we make a lot of investments, but a lot of those investments tie to, are the capabilities, are the spaces that we are excited that connect to a family of apps. But here, the lens has been, can we be an ally for particular companies introducing innovation of a certain kind? What I found very interesting, that India is the only planet in the world, the only country on this planet at the moment where Facebook is willing at this time to make minority investments for which there's no specific corpus, which the upside can also be, there is no cap. So how does it work? Your team, you get excited. I know there have only been 2 to go by. You like it, then you email the headquarters, you get in touch with Mark Zuckerberg, you get an approval. How does it work? If you can share that with us, I'm sure there'll be a lot of interest to know this.
Yeah, I think the good point is Mark has a very large team now, so there are enough of us who can engage and have these conversations. We do have a corporate development team that specifically looks for these investments, and reality is they engage with startups and founders across the year. And on that front, it is not that different from a typical VC cycle, right? There are conversations, there are companies that may be at different stages of funding, and some of them kind of come alive in terms of specific interests around a specific round. If I remember correctly, I think the Misho investment happened outside of a round.
Yes.
So even that is not a constraint. But there's a team focused on that. There are ongoing conversations, and the reality is to what you said. I think because it is new, and because we haven't done elsewhere, I think we have been very structured and purposeful about
very discerning
about setting it up in the beginning so that we can accelerate it. And my guess would be that you would see us make a lot more of these investments in the next few months.
So there's a lot that's in the pipeline?
If anything, this program should accelerate even more.
So can you tell us how many are in the pipeline?
What
kind of spaces? I know you're sectoral agnostic.
Again, I think the good point, Nayantara, is because we don't have a cap on the corpus, and because we are defining it in some ways quite openly, but reality is it kind of becomes quite defined the minute you add the lens of it has to be relevant across India, it has to be disruptive, and the most important one is these are models that can have significant positive impact on the country as a whole. Those then tend to kind of, converge on specific opportunities pretty quickly. But I would be surprised if we wait for another 7 months before our next announcement.
So when will I be back here interviewing you?
I would suspect a time duration a lot less than 7 months.
3 months, 2 months, 1 month, a week?
I think you will know. You will know the number when we call you. Yeah.
Did you also not have a choice but to do this? And here's when I'm going to ask you this question. TikTok, for example, has really taken off in India. We're hearing about the business that can be leveraged by TikTok to see what's happening in Connaught Place with that, selfie booth and all of that. Is this something you don't really have a choice in at the moment?
A couple of things. I mean, I think it's great that on the back of everything that happened in the last 3 years in terms of the expansion in access to mobile broadband across the country, there is space for all kinds of companies and all kinds of business models. So I think it's good for India that there are companies that are doing well. But equally, I think to answer your question more directly, we absolutely have a choice. And we're doing it because we think an investment program like this is a huge opportunity for us to be an ally for India. And the one thing to point out is across our family of apps, Nayantara, on the Facebook app, Instagram and WhatsApp, what we have seen over the last few years and even over the last 12, 18 months is the growth and engagement on these apps continues to be dramatic. So I think, your viewers should have comfort that the choices that we're making here come from a place of strength, where the lens is what more can we do? How can we be even more of an ally for India than the work that we do every day on each one of our family of apps? And we feel extraordinarily excited and confident about the relevance of our apps. Reality is, if I look at WhatsApp or Facebook or Instagram, I honestly don't think there is any service that is more consequential or that has deeper engagement in the fabric of India than on our family of apps.
How many subscribers are you up to? Like, what kind of reach are we talking about?
The reality is, our conversation, good or bad, I think we focus on the impact that we are having. I think we haven't gotten into the game of talking about monthly users or daily users. But even there, I think one of the big things to highlight to you is a disproportionate number of our monthly users show up on our family of apps every day.
Yeah.
And that goes to the power of these apps and how consequential they are and how Indians around the country use them every day. And we see that in the numbers, and we feel very confident about how our family of apps is doing in India.
So can I ask you that 7 months ago when you onboarded Meesho, how it might have grown? Have you done a checkup on them, like how they're doing, etc.?
Of
how
course,
life has changed for them?
Yeah, and I think I wouldn't want to kind of talk about their numbers. I think Vidit
That's fine. That's what
and the
Vidit
team
to
should
share.
do.
That's what Vidit and team to share.
But absolutely yes, we are excited about the traction and engagement and growth that Meesho is seeing, and that gives us even more confidence that the framework that we are bringing into the minority investment program is actually the right one. And the one big thing that we are excited about the Meesho team is they're now looking, they're having traction in India, they're growing substantially, they're now looking at Indonesia.
Oh, okay.
And for me, as much as this program is about impact in India, it's exciting that an Indian company with a model that was created in India is now taking it global. And no surprise, Indonesia happens to be another country where WhatsApp is deeply at the heart of everyday life, just like it is in India. And therefore, I won't be surprised if there are fundamental learnings from India that Meesho is able to deploy in Indonesia. But what an exciting story that an India model and a company is now exploring other large consequential markets like Indonesia.
That's amazing to hear. And by the way, ET Now, our motto is Rise with India. And we're trying to be an outlier when it comes to media companies. You can talk yourself into recession, but let's talk about what's good. And this is amazing to hear. Unacademy already, I think, has overseas plans, is overseas as well.
Again, I think, given your conversations with Gaurav, more
By
for
the way,
him,
he looked at me like I was a duh. When I said what are the synergies with Facebook, he literally looked at me like, duh. WhatsApp, people learn on WhatsApp. I said, listen, I graduated many, many years ago. We didn't have a WhatsApp platform at the moment, but that's something that enthuses you?
Absolutely. And again, I think the reality is when I look at our family of apps, we have in Facebook app and Instagram, two apps that are more oriented towards the public forums. And they play a special role. And in WhatsApp is a private messaging platform. You combine the three, and I'm not surprised that a lot of newer companies, new startups would look at it and say, this is quite powerful, and to the extent that there are opportunities to leverage it, it allows us to contribute to fueling their models and their growth stories.
And you can now have conference calls on WhatsApp as well, so you can have live classrooms, I would imagine, on WhatsApp.
I'd be excited to see how Gaurav leverages.
And if you do that, you can give me a commission for coming up with the
or
idea.
Gaurav should give you a commission.
Okay, jokes aside, you said you're sectoral agnostic. You're not looking at sectors. You're looking at companies, and you've got that lens, and you've taken us through that. But what is exciting Facebook at the moment? Where do you see, which are the sectors that are more open to disruptions or whatever?
I think we are at such an early stage of the transformation where when I step back and think about what's happened in the last few years, thanks to the work of Jio and the other telcos, we've brought a lot of people online. A lot of them who have been introduced to the internet for the first time. So a lot of the conversation was about access in the last 3 or 4 years. I think it's now we're realizing that that access and people getting familiar with the internet allows us now to introduce and scale models that we could not think of. So the fact that Unacademy already reaches 18 million learners, you're using the power of technology to really democratize education. In Meesho, you're fundamentally introducing a commerce model that is enabling female entrepreneurs to leverage their networks to sell products.
Yeah.
So I'm not even sure whether we have scratched the surfaces
there's only 2 investments in 7 months.
And therefore, and not just from an investment point of view, I mean even from the work that we do every day,
Yes.
Working with,
Small and medium businesses, you do that, yes.
And the conversation that you had around the VC brand program that we have, I think what we are seeing across the board, and I think you kind of alluded to it, we're deeply excited about what's happening in India. And we see that even in the last 18 months, when there's been a lot of gloom in the newspaper pages, what we are seeing is that when we go out and talk to companies, the ways in which we are seeing them use the platform, the ways in which they're using an ad platform.
They're in a parallel universe. And when you look at these young entrepreneurs, and I don't mean young by age, there could be, people starting a new career in entrepreneurship in their 50s, etc.
That's right.
And they're like in a apni dunya mein, parallel universe, not interested at all with what's happening with the old economy. That's something, to be taken hard from, and clearly Facebook is looking at that. But Ajit, tell me something. You don't want to get sectoral. You've got that lens. You think there are a lot of opportunities. But how should one reach out to Facebook, or how is it that you find companies? How does this entire process work?
I think over the last 9 months in particular, I think once it was clear that we are going to scale up this particular investment program where we are open to minority stakes, I think a lot of us, the corp dev team, our own sort of teams that look at small and medium businesses, our engagement with the VC and PE community, I think a lot of them will tell you that we are now actively engaged in structured conversations with them in a way that may not have been true a year ago. So I do feel good that rather than waiting for companies to reach out to us,
you're doing that,
and that happens as well, I think we are spending a lot of time, and it definitely helps that because so much of our core work on our ad platform deals with small and medium businesses who are leveraging the power of those platforms on Facebook and Instagram to scale up from 50,000 to 1 million, or from 1 million to 10 million. They're looking to scale up their users and revenues, a lot of times in India, but around the world as well. We do feel comfortable that we are deeply engaged in the ecosystem, and we know what's happening across categories, whether it's consumer goods or automotive or financial services. I think because of our engagement on the ad platform front, and then through the structured engagement we have, whether it's our accelerator programs or our work with VCs, I think we're out there in a way where we engage with enough of these companies. But does that mean that there isn't a company out there who's doing something super exciting that we haven't really engaged with? Maybe. But I have comfort that they will be able to find us.
I'm saying in advance, you may not like this question, but I'm going to ask it nevertheless. Look at what's happening today. Satya Nadella is in India. He's here for 3 days. He is going to be meeting with startups. You got Sundar Pichai in India for half a day. Just recently, you had Jeff Bezos of Amazon who came and he gave young startups, prizes on stage. Is Facebook falling behind the curve? Do you think you're going to have to tell the top team and Mark Zuckerberg to come to India and do it too?
I'll relay the message from you.
It's something to be noted, right? It's happening.
I would look at it in two ways. I think it's great that the companies, the CEOs of tech companies, the global CEOs are spending time in India. We're not surprised. I think, and that shows up in our own commitment to India and our excitement about India. So I think that's great. And your personal invitation to Mark will be communicated. But equally, I think the lens that I would apply is how are we showing up? And I think the reality is, as shown by the investment in Unacademy, the work that we do every day, there is no question in my mind that India is one of the most important priority countries for Facebook. And hopefully, I think that has been even clearer in the last 9 or 12 months. And a lot of the work that I have been focused on since I started a year ago is translating the excitement that I see from Facebook, from Mark. Frankly, I think he's a big believer in India.
When it comes to India, wouldn't a lot of his attention, or the top team's attention in the Bay Area, be focused on the regulatory problems, whether it's WhatsApp Pay or data localization?
Not at all. I think I think the complete thought is, I see sort of the work that we have done in the last 14 months or so is translating the excitement that I see from Facebook's leadership team, starting with Mark, into therefore what are the big bets that we can make in India? Where can we make the investment? Because the belief is that this is a country in the middle of a exciting economic and social transformation, and we absolutely believe that we can be an ally in that transformation and have massive impact here. And frankly, that's the excitement from Mark. And it is not just on things related to regulation and policy, which is an area of interest to us around the world. But it is on the work that we do every day, including in the investments that we are making. So I feel good that to the extent that we look at Facebook's commitment to India in what we are doing, including these investments, I think we're in great shape. And I feel massive support from the company's leadership in terms of really a push to say, let's continue to invest bigger and bolder in India.
Have you met Mark Zuckerberg as yet?
I have not met him officially, but in 2015 when I think Unacademy was not even started then, I had made my first visit to Silicon Valley, and I was visiting a friend at the Facebook office where I saw Zuckerberg, and I just went to him and I said hi to him and shook his hands. But my friend got berated a lot by the HR because that was not allowed. But yeah, I've shook hands with him, but he doesn't, at that point of time, he didn't know who I was.
Now he knows who you are.
I'm not sure, but I mean that's not the goal. I mean, even if he doesn't know who I am, that's fine. But he definitely knows what Unacademy is.
My final question to you must have been a trying time with coronavirus, and we actually saw Facebook host that big meeting with the WHO. I think east of India, we were literally the last port now and the fort before the entire coronavirus outbreak. Did you, as the India boss, have to deal with it? Did you have Chinese employees? Is it something that you really had to look at?
I think clearly this is quite consequential globally. Obviously we have large presences in many countries in
Hong Kong,
Asia,
and all of that,
which has been impacted by the virus. So I think two big things is where our attention has been. I think the safety of our employees, and that's drawn in a lot of energy. And second, I think as you pointed out, I think we are on the front foot really thinking through how can we be helpful to the global efforts, and particularly with WHO. And those efforts will continue in India and around the world.
With that, Ajit, congratulations again on your second investment. I think you'll be giving an interview quicker than 7 months is what you alluded to.
I'm sure about it. Thank you, Nayantara.
Thanks, Ajit.